All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts.
Right here, if you have a beard, random men are going to always walk up to you and try to lick your beard.
Ew, that's so disgusting. Oh.
You're one of Mitten's kittens.
Hold on, so I'm like, nope. Oh, well, you lost all your fleets.
Oh, fuck. Not what we intended. Oh, God. What do we do?
The Meta Show.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Meta Show. It's going to be a little bit different today. You just notice we have 3 people on for our first segment instead of just 2. We do have Darius Johnson joining us from San Diego, and you see a little cam there down at the bottom left. We have the San Diego bar party where they're watching the Alliance tournament at a local gaming pub. Also, the Mittani, as usual, on our show. We replaced him with Mr. V last week, our friendliest Dutchman. And yeah, there's been a pretty interesting week this week in EVE Online. Not exactly in Nullsec, but rather behind the scenes with CCP. We're going to kick things off with what has happened in Nullsec with our Nullsec Power Hour, which will probably last about 5 minutes since there's not much going on.
So good, Power 5 minutes.
Power 5 minutes.
That's what they call you, Laz, Power 5 minutes.
Wow!
That was more like Power 2.
Alright guys, show's over. Turning the stream off. I can't handle this. Alright guys.
Alright, so you can hear the party in the background there while Sean is sipping his martini. And we're going to go ahead and get into
We will have him mute
Holy crap,
when he's not talking.
Shit, dude.
Sorry, I thought I had it muted.
This is going to be such a clusterfuck.
Yeah. So, but that's fine because
Yes.
it's a great opportunity to talk about clusterfucks and train wrecks both because we've been dealing with a bit of them. We only have a few bits of nullsec news. One of them is actually strategic in nature, which is nice. If you will direct your attention to the map of Delve, you'll notice that the remnants of Pizza have actually been running a strategic campaign against NCDOT with only about 15 guys. Most of Pizza evacuated to Lowsec, and a group primarily led by Securitas Protector and Concordiate have basically wiped out half of NCDOT Sov in Delve over the course of just the last day and a half, 2 days, thereabouts. I guess 72 hours, because it takes at least 48 hours to grind through this crap, including losses of iHubs in actual station systems, not low ADM ones. So it's either NCDOT just dropped the ball and lost all their stuff all at once, or they've also just kind of given up with defending Fozzie Sov as well, which is kind of the overarching theme that we're confronted with in EVE today across the entire galaxy.
And you're just going to hear a lot about Fozzie Sov and what's been happening this week here later in the show. If you look on the screen, I do have the map down. You can kind of see that center cluster right there has no Sov whatsoever on it. And you can go to .land and you can see all this for yourself as well.
Yeah, it's all this territory around one SMEB and SOCT. Is basically NCDOT has been trying to install renters there. And now Pizza, who had lost most of their moons in Delve, have been siphoning the NCDOT moons and now are aggressively trying to disrupt and just make their lives hell. So yeah, that's definitely a thing that's happening. But beyond that, we have, there's a Titan that got blown up.
I keep seeing Darius try to talk, and then I think he mutes his mic right before he talks.
Has he not figured
No.
out?
Look, it's weird because the button sometimes works and it doesn't. It's like a magic button. But what I was going to say is I chalk this more up to NCDOT's. Well, NCDOT has always been a very competent alliance. So what I would chalk this up to more of NCDOT's inability to actually muster a defense than any kind of Fozzie Sov issue. Is what
That's true. Pizza must have beaten them on the field of battle, because otherwise, it can't be Fozzie Sov's fault, obviously.
No. NCDOT's always been a very honorable alliance, not run by racists at all. So I imagine
Jesus Christ.
that this has more to do with honorable defeat on the field of battle than anything else.
And we're off to the races, ladies and gentlemen. This is excellent. It's good to be back. I had to miss last week's Meta Show. I was traveling with my family, and now we come back, and not only do we actually have something to happen in Fozzie Sov in terms of Sov campaigns, this is the first time, the fact that we're pointing at basically 2 constellations of territory that one side either didn't show up for or showed up on the field of honorable battle, depending upon whether you listen to me or you listen to Darius. That's the biggest news we've had. We're pretty much just going to have to move straight into talking about what the hell with this roundtable and this stuff with CCP. So I think we're just going to go ahead and cut off the nullsec news section because there's 2 constellations worth of news, and then move straight into this roundtable thing.
Yeah, the only other thing that's happened in nullsec was a stealth bomber destroyed a Titan that was in an offline tower, sitting inside the maintenance array. A stealth bomber warped up, popped the hangar array, and then there's an avatar inside that died.
That happened once when we played, or when I played, to a friend's Titan within our own system. It was a stealth bomber and something else. He forgot to online the towers when he online the.
That's right. I think it was one of Death's.
Or if you got,
like one of Death's like super cap arrays in.
Yeah, we kept it secret, but it was basically like 2 dudes killed.
2 dudes in Ishtar. I think AFK killed it.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
And that was before they actually had like kill mails that came from, the CSAAs back in the day, what they're called. So, all right, so let's roll the CCP please if we haven't yet.
Well, we're now in CCP please, guys. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Guys, this is going to largely degenerate into me ranting, but part of that is I do want people's comments in chat because this is an opportunity for us to discuss the roundtable and basically what the hell has been going on the last 2 weeks in Iceland, or just the lack of it. So feel free to comment, and I'm going to be watching chat and responding to you guys because this is, I mean, after the CCP roundtable, I kind of want to have like our own roundtable, I guess, at some point, but we'll see where it goes. I will launch into this by basically just saying, overall, we have 3 or 4 bits of CCP-related news or EVE-related news, and all of them go into this theme, and it's not a good theme. The theme is basically the company seeming very tone-deaf, and if we want to abuse alliteration, it seems like there's some sort of Icelandic isolation problem. It's not just the roundtable. If you look back, we've had Aegis, Fozzie Sov, has been the biggest change to EVE mechanics and gameplay. There has been a very direct and obvious impact upon the number of subscriptions, the number of people logging in. I mean, the math is there. You look at the chart of logins on eveoffline.net, and it's just... And everybody is aware of this reality. This expansion hit a month ago. There's been no follow-up dev blog at all relating to what happened with Fozzie Sov. Like, there have been a couple dev blogs about Citadels, but there's nothing there.
Well, we haven't heard anything from CCP since Aegis hit. And it's been a month now since Sov hit. It's been a month and a week since the actual Aegis deployment. We had, just this week, we had two dev blogs on Citadels, and that's all we've heard. And that's the biggest issue for me, honestly, with CCP right now, is you install this completely game-changing system, and then you don't tell us anything about it since then.
Well, I mean, the thing is that it's not just... I mean, if it was just that they're being tone deaf about Fozzie Sov, or they're trying to stick their fingers in their ears and deny the math, and, you know, ego and pride gets involved in this, and people don't want to admit that the system is screwed up. They don't want to look at the chart of subs and logins. But even before this, there was a problem. Even before the system hit. Because here's the thing. What happens when you see Apple releases a new product? Tim Cook gets up there on stage, Steve Jobs gets up there on stage, and he's like, look at this new iPhone, this new Apple Watch, this new thing. And back in the day, whenever we would have a major new expansion, much less the single biggest shakeup in gameplay and the most vital part of EVE Online that gets all of the press and media in 6 years, you don't really see anything from Hilmar. You don't really see anything from CCP Seagull at all. They have been kind of missing in action, even in the run-up to Fozzie Sov, and that's pretty weird. You would expect a promotion campaign, you would expect marketing, you would expect something, and there's just a gap, and that gap is weird. We hear about Gunback, which is some random VR arcade game. We hear about Valkyrie, EVE's biggest expansion, the one product that they're actually selling. Nothing. And that's even before we get into the mess of the expansion itself. So, I mean, does that seem... I mean, Sean, you used to actually work there, and back when you were there, we would see a lot of engagement from the executive producer and from the CEO of the company. What do you... What the hell?
You're getting jarbled there. Yeah. I think you might be lying.
That's fine, I heard you. I'm not sure what might be going on there. What I'd say is that if this was a thing that they cared about, it would be something they were on the front and on top of. I mean, that's what anybody who looks at a business from the outside looking in says. If you care about it, you're there and you're on top of it.
Having slight connection issues. 1 second, guys.
It sounds like Laz's connection is having some issues.
Yep, 1 second.
Let's see if we're just dead or are we still actually...
No, we're still streaming, but for some reason my Skype call quality just went to shit.
Well, I don't hear you guys as robots, and we'll see whether people can...
Like, do I sound fine? Do I sound fine to you guys?
Laz sounds fine to me, but Alex sounds like a robot.
Yeah, John sounds like a robot to me, and yeah, it could be like a Twitch problem, unfortunately, because whenever we do these things on weekends, there's usually a major...
Yeah, because you guys both sound like robots to me is the problem.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, let's see. I'm just gonna hang up the call and recall real quick and see what happens.
Oh God. Okay.
Yep. All right.
Hello, nerds.
Hello? Still garbled.
Let me make sure I'm not on Wi-Fi.
This is great. Done, Mike. Thank you.
I can kill the stream here too if you think that.
Let's see if we can load me out. It's interesting. We had this happen, of course, the last time that I was on the show. We had CCP Master Plan, which was interesting because he pretty much, his awesomeness crashed the stream.
Yeah, that was a complete.
And I actually can't hear Laz at this point. I see him moving.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear Laz fine.
Yeah, so apparently the stream can hear me fine. It's only the Skype that's coming through garbled.
No, I can hear you fine, and I just killed my stream in case it was my fault.
All right, I can hear everyone okay now.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it might have been me, because Skype's peer-to-peer. I killed the stream, so you won't see San Diego anymore, but you'll at least hear my beautiful voice.
Well, that's what really matters at the end of the day. Okay. Well, as long as I'm not in robot voice anymore, we'll go ahead and go into the rant. Like, just as I got started and was going to ask Sean the question, which is it a little bit weird for you to, like, in your experience when you were working at CCP, we would have John Lander and Hilmar and whoever was basically in charge running around and doing laps to promote whatever new EVE expansion was happening. For better or for worse, there was a lot of visibility. And now, what's up? What do you think about that?
So what I would say is but this is purely from an outsider perspective. I don't know what's going on in there. When you company watch and when you do things like this, what you do is you take a look at what a CEO gets behind is what the CEO cares about. And you do see that from Hilmar sometimes, where he'll tweet things that are going on in EVE and whatnot. But what we were on top of when we were working on the title was specifically things that we thought were important, that we thought were driving the game. So whether intentional or not, the message that gets sent by not being up in front and not doing the same things that you've always done to promote your new features is you're saying that you don't care about them. The message, whether intentional or not, whether they do or don't care, is irrelevant. The perception that people have on the outside is that if you're not there promoting, explaining, championing, doing your role, essentially, in ensuring that these expansions go well, then you're clearly off doing something else. And what that something else is up for debate. Maybe it's vacation. That seemed to be a thing people were really into for the past 2 months or so.
Oh, my. I mean, so...
Not even with the VR. Not even with the VR, though. If you look at their history, you have World of Darkness, which was, 8 years worth of production that they then just trashed. And then you have Dust 514, which then I think 2 FanFests ago, they mentioned that they're going to start Project Legion, which we haven't heard of anything since.
Well, they gave up, that's another piece of minor news that came up within the last couple of weeks that people glossed over with the Roundtable train wreck, was CCP gave up the trademark for Legion.
Wow.
So it might still be coming in some form, but whatever it is, it ain't going to be called Legion. So that's a little bit of legal action that's taking place. So actually, somebody's asking in chat, who is Darius Johnson? Why does it matter? He was formerly CCP Striggs at CCP many years ago, and also he was my CEO for many years in Goonswarm. And basically, I learned how to CEO from him. Then he went to CCP, and now he's off doing other things in San Diego.
He was the CEO that brought AMOC into the alliance, so you guys have him to thank for him for me being here.
So
that's actually what I'm known for, is bringing AMOC into the alliance.
It's true.
Saving the alliance, to be honest. I'm just saying.
So, like, the big issue that, like, moving on a little bit, just like the general, like, absence of promotion for somebody was saying to basically make an excuse for CCP, and that's reasonable. Like, we do need to consider all these angles. Somebody was saying that, well, it's really hard to have visibility from the CEO and the executive producer when you have a 6-week release cycle. But that doesn't acknowledge the reality here, which is whenever they had Dominion or any major change to Sov, that was an opportunity to promote the game, promote the product, and show engagement from the top down for all the employees who are working or on vacation or whatever on EVE, right? I mean, EVE is the moneymaker. And, you know, to say that Fozzie Sov wasn't a big deal is just incredibly tone deaf. And it's not just tone deaf, it's madness. I mean, look at the fucking PCU charges.
What I would say is I'm not sure they don't think it's a big deal. I'm just not sure it's something they feel adequately equipped to talk about, right? So, I mean, there's a reason they needed Fozzie to redesign Sov, and it wasn't a top-down thing. So it could very well be that the current leadership, whether it be Hilmar, the executive producer, or whomever, just doesn't feel adequately attached to or adequately knowledgeable on the subject of what Sov is in order to talk about it, which is not in any way, shape, or form any better. It's just perhaps not necessarily intentionally stepping away. It's just, I don't understand this shit. Here, guy, you talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, before we really dive too deep into the Fozzie Sov question, because there is a lot to talk about this, there are a few more points before we get to Fozzie Sov and the Roundtable. And
right.
One of them is the Drifter Wars takedown. This is why I'm saying that this is like an overarching, like this is a frame, a problem. There's an actual narrative here, which is not good. Drifter Wars is a very small browser flashy game type thing that Rick Javix made. Now, Rick Javix
into chat as well.
Yeah, and Rick Javix is really well known in the community. He has made a lot of art. Now, here's where things get weird. So he had this game on his website called Drifter Wars. It was just a fun little side-scrolling pew-pew game using EVE Online art and assets and stuff. Now, here's where things get funky. We have given away on the Meta Show posters of battle cruisers from EVE Online that Rick Javix made, and those posters were sent to us by CCP's marketing department to give away to our community, which we're incredibly thankful for. And the reason why I seem like there's some sort of disconnect, Icelandic isolation, what the hell is going on over there, is on the one hand, their marketing department is giving us these posters from Rick Javix with EVE Online art and imagery on it to give away to our community. Yay, awesome. So there's obviously a connection between Rick Javix and CCP, and they have some sort of IP licensing agreement. And then out of nowhere, this guy who is doing these things, his stuff gets taken down abruptly. And it's just left hand, right hand, you know, what's going on.
Wait, what stuff? Did they DMCA his game?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tee-hee-hee.
Yeah. So that is weird and has raised a lot of questions from a lot of people who follow that. I mean, the Drifter Wars was not a very well-known game. People probably didn't even realize it was there. But here's a guy who was working with CCP. I think they flew him out to FanFest last year, intimately involved the community team. Their marketing department is giving us posters of his work.
I actually saw a photo of him in the building 2 days ago.
Okay, really? In the CCP
Yeah,
building?
he painted a painting for them.
Okay, so this is just, I mean, this is, again, like, it's not necessarily conspiracy, but it seems like left hand, right hand, like, what the fuck. So there's that. And then this brings us to, in the background of sort of an absence of people on stage promoting the important product and the company's main, you know, development cycle, and in the context of this left hand, right hand Drifter Wars crap, then we get to this Roundtable thing. And I didn't bother turning up to it because I knew it was going to be a train wreck just from the way in which it was described, but I didn't expect it was going to be that much of a train wreck. Laz, did you actually show up and listen to that thing?
No, I knew how bad it was going to be, so I purposely stayed away because I knew there'd be recording afterwards. And thank God I didn't go to it.
Oh my God.
It was 2 hours long. I listened to the SoundCloud 2 hours.
I listened to the SoundCloud and I wanted to stab myself. But I mean, what was weird to me about that, and this is again part of this problem, this theme, is the reaction from CCP, with the notable exception. And this is important before we dive into some ugly here, with the notable exception of CCP Mimic, who posted the day after the Roundtable a really excellent post on Evo. And Laz, if you can dig that up and link it in chat, it would be great. Mimic's post was just a breath of fresh air in a world of what the hell. But the reaction from the devs on the table, if you listen to their tone of voice, the defensiveness, the surprise is what bothered me. Because if they knew that they were walking into a firing line, which they should have known, they wouldn't have had that kind of defensive, what is this, why is this happening, tone of voice. They seemed to legitimately think that the player base was happy and okay, and we're just going to talk about jump fatigue, instead of the player base going, dude, what the hell is this Fozzie Sov stuff? What have you done? Nobody is logging in. What's wrong with you? And so I think the Roundtable could be a good thing if it wakes people up in Iceland and makes them realize that this is, like, left to their own devices, a lot of times CCP has historically, like you saw this with Incarna, put blinders on, drunk their own Kool-Aid, and basically thought, la la la, everything's fine. Like that horrible meme or cartoon of the dog sitting in a burning building going, I'm fine with this, I'm perfectly okay with this situation, everything is wonderful, and then he melts.
And dropping back to the Roundtable, Andy actually had a pretty good post on it as well. On his blog, which I think I just linked. Yeah, that's right. I just linked it, and I'm still looking for the Mimic posts.
Okay. So basically, the one good thing that seems to have come out of this Roundtable, I mean, it was stunning. Like, they wanted to talk about, like, Phoebe changes, but the player base wanted to talk about what the player base is upset about, which is Fozzie Sov. And it didn't seem like the devs who turned up to it were prepared or allowed to answer any questions, which just made the player base angrier. And it was kind of surprising to me that this was allowed to happen because, if you're in a situation where your customers are upset with your product, you want to have people who are really prepared. Otherwise, you end up with a bad PR scenario like this. So, hopefully now they at least recognize that it's not just a few people yelling and screaming, that they will look at the PCU chart. Sean, in your experience, I mean, have you been around during times of crisis in CCP? Can you maybe say, like, do you know anything about this whole, like, Kool-Aid drinking problem, or like what it takes to make them wake up and smell the reality? Like,
I wouldn't speak to what it takes to do anything, because I think a lot of people have various opinions about that. But what I would say is I was there through the whole Incarna thing, and helped, usher us through the other side of that. And it really just took a leader stepping up and making the right change and recognizing that there was a problem in the first place and dealing with it. And being very upfront and open and communicative and out there and doing that. Not everyone can do that. And I suspect the issue here might be, hey, maybe they're out in Iceland, coming up with the most grand plans that will save everything forever, and it'll be the best game ever from here on out. But if you ain't out there talking to people and you ain't telling them what you need to tell them from the people who are giving you $15 a month, then they don't give a fuck. As far as they're concerned, it doesn't exist. And so I think CCP, internally at least, always has good intentions. But whether or not that's making its way out to the public is a whole different story. And I mean, this isn't a CCP exclusive problem. This is a problem all over.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And the flip side of that is that the customer base tends to be a pile of assholes also. So on the customer side of the equation, there tends to be over demand as well. So really what customers are looking for is somebody to sit down, be open and honest with them and have a conversation. And what the devs are looking for is, I'm not sure, either to take that conversation and turn it into something good, to communicate what it is they want to communicate, or, I mean, if what they wanted was everyone to sit down at a table and blow them, that clearly didn't happen. So at the end of the day, getting through crisis is possible, but the first step, much like with Alcoholics Anonymous, as far as I've read in books and seen on television, is that you have to admit that you have a problem in the first place. I'm not sure what we're getting.
Well, and like you said, they have to be like they have to talk to people, and you have your customer base sitting here just looking at all the other stuff you're working on.
You have a CSM. What the fuck is? What are they there for?
Exactly.
Right. Exactly. Why are you having a town hall? I mean, the thing is, the town hall format itself was doomed from the start. Some people in chat are bringing up. Also, Carlton Banks has been asking about my ideas on going back to a Fozzie system. We'll get back to. We have a section of what I think should be done. I saw your question. We'll get there. People are talking in chat about like, well, people didn't take the format appropriately. The town hall was for this, and people did another thing. You have to deal, and this is a common rant. You have to deal with the reality of how human nature works. This is not some sort of mathematical program where you can say, we're going to have a town hall to discuss these issues. And if people are furious about something not getting heard or the company not having any communication or acknowledgement of their issues, you can't be surprised when they grab a torch and a pitchfork, right? And so going, oh, well, they didn't obey the format, that's dumb. From a corporate perspective, if you're dealing with a crisis like this, like with the Incarna thing, you pick some interlocutors, you have a controlled environment, you take feedback in advance. Like if you have a forum thread where everybody writes their things, and then you have your devs and your marketing department, your PR guys go, here are the 10 questions we're going to answer and discuss. We're going to pick a person who asks those questions and have a back and forth in a chat channel. That's a control.
Let me white knight here just for a minute. I'm pretty sure that's what the CSM was supposed to be doing here. I'm pretty sure that the CSM was supposed to be running that controlled environment. They're supposed to be the ones asking the questions and getting the answers. So they were supposed to be the one doing the screening. But if you listen to the recording, some of the CS members that are supposed to be controlling this environment were the ones being extremely aggressive towards CCP in the first place.
Well, they've always been really. CSM's always been really good at that. Like, hey, here's what we think, and then go, and then all of a sudden turn on you. So it is what it is. But at the end of the day, I think if they weren't expecting a rapid response, it just shows that they were completely out of touch with the subject matter.
Yeah, I mean, if you're even vaguely associated, paying any attention to what's been going on with Fozzie Sov, you should know that the player base is furious. And oddly enough, it's funny because, like, in general, the people who are often accused of being the most angry and putting the most pressure on CCP, it's usually the Imperium. And we're actually the most successful in this current environment. We're not necessarily happy with it, but we're handling it far better than pretty much anybody else in Nullsec. So, the thing with this roundtable is if you've ever been to a roundtable at FanFest, there's a lot of, like, people get, angry, there's a lot of discussion, and at the end of it, very little comes of it except for more frustration. What is needed here is dev blogs, acknowledgement of the problems, and some sort of draft plan to at least acknowledge, like, you can screw up. Everybody screws up. I have screwed up more times than I have count. And one of the hardest lessons that people have to learn, that I had beaten into me, was when you screw up, you got to get up there and go, look, guys, I'm not going to double down. I'm not going to act like I was wonderful. We said that this guy was a spy. We blew up his Titan. I said I was right. It turned out I was totally wrong. I'm so sorry. We screwed this up. This was entirely our bad.
You owe me a Titan, by the way.
Exactly. And so, that kind of thing, you just have to make a clean break. You have to be honest with your people as a leader and say, everybody's human. I might be in charge. You put me in charge, but I screwed up. I'm so sorry. Let's make it right. And
CCP has these community people that their job is to talk to the community.
But their job is not to lead, and that's the thing here. And I think when you talk about leadership and you talk about what's going on here, there's a whole lot of issues being conflated. There's how do you communicate with your community, and how do you talk to them, and whatever else, and how do you lead a company, and how do you lead a product. And I think that what I would say is what's perhaps being articulated is that there's a leadership void here that's not being filled.
That is absolutely true.
And the appearance is that it's being filled by these community folks who are trying to do their best, but they're getting thrown under the bus. So maybe the angst that you see from them, if I was guessing, and there really is a leadership void, is not that the community folks are mad that the players kind of mobbed them in this atmosphere, but the fact that they were thrown in that environment in the first place to get mobbed. Because that's what shit leaders do.
A game designer, exactly. Like a game designer in all of these companies, people think that, we say Fozzie Sov because it's a shorthand, but Fozzie's part of a team 5-0, and it's a whole bunch of other people. Right. These guys are on the org chart. They are at the bottom of a chain of direct reports, right? You should never have a situation where you're interfacing in a corporate way with your customers and having the guy who's on the bottom of the org chart speaking when you should have either a marketing director, or a PR director, the executive producer of the game, if they're the person who's in charge of making sure that things are right. Like, why is that getting relegated to people who are on the org chart at the bottom? They have lots of responsibility now that they didn't ask for. They signed up to be game designers, not to be PR frontmen, and they have lots of responsibility and no authority to be able to. They probably half the reason why they didn't answer those questions, which made people so angry, is that they had to dodge questions because they didn't have any authority to choose whether they could answer them or not. They're being put in a position that is completely inappropriate for a game designer to be in.
And
it's not their fault.
The way they came across was it authority, or they just didn't have a clue?
Well, there's a lot of value in allowing the people who are working on a thing to discuss their product. It's super cool, man, being a line level programmer or whatever, and being able to sit down with the players who are experiencing the end result of what you're working on because you understand it better than anyone else. The CEO is not going to get that, whatever else. But what the disconnect is, you can't understand whether leadership's behind it or not because they're not fucking showing up and talking about it. So what you end up with is community guys who don't understand how the shit works at all, talking about the shit without a blessing from the CEO where you could at least go, well, he doesn't understand, so it's marketing speak, or even the people who are directly involved in the thing being equipped to able to answer questions. It's basically just a let's community sit down, and if you don't have a format, and you don't have the answers, and you don't have those things in place when you get there, then what it will be by default is a bitch fest.
That's exactly what
you may as well have just planned that. That's what you did. Whether you chose to or not, you planned a bitch fest.
And that's what they got. And that's the reason why I didn't show up for the thing, because I knew it was just going to be just a disaster. I mean, I listened to it. And the thing is, it's not even the community guys. The people who were mostly getting interacted with were Fozzie and Larkin, who I know is Dark Razor, who is an FC. And these are entirely, like, I don't think that there was if there's a community team interface who was running interference under, that would make some sense, but I don't even know. Like, we have, this is ugly. And if there was a leader, like if there was a leadership step, some sort of taking of responsibility, someone saying, this is, why are we seeing this from, like, the best post that has come out of this roundtable is from Mimic, right? And that's odd. I mean, Mimic is great. And I read that post that she made, and it was just like, my God, this is so mature. This is so reasonable. Who is this person, and can we give them a badge?
Shayna.
Oh, okay, cool.
So good on her. But I should actually probably move over towards fixes now, because I think we've beat the whole dude what the hell thing to death.
I'm going to add one more point to this. And
go nuts.
It's basically, it's not exactly where the CCP, but if you look at gaming companies that are like that, in my opinion, are really, really responsive when it comes to fixes and problems. And they use a social medium that's already in place, is Twitter. If you like Adam Clegg from Daybreak Games, one of the lead game designers for Daybreak, he's constantly posting about the problems that are happening in the game. He's constantly posting that what they're working on to fix it. And I mean, that's what CCP needs. Is they need these game designers like Fozzie and Rise and Larrick and all these people that are up front in the spotlight to be on the social media, Reddit and Twitter, stuff like that, just talking about stuff like this. You don't have to release any type of details that like the covered by NDA, but just give people a little bit of something, show that, hey, we are communicating.
Yeah, there's nothing harder to talk about than security shit, right? Like, if you're doing security shit and anti-cheat shit, you just can't come out and be like, here's exactly how I do it. There's a lot of shit you got to dance around with, but I've been in situations where I've been able to be out in the public and open and communicative, and I've been able to have a back and forth conversation about what it is I do without having to be like, if I can't talk about something, I'll tell you I can't talk about it. But there's enough ways to dance around a subject to have a two-way conversation and to at least make somebody believe they're having input. And this is just...
And alliances in EVE do that. I mean, even just casually as game players, like as an alliance leader, half the time I'm talking to the line and I'm saying, we're working on this, we're working on that. I can't tell you about this, wheels are in motion. People are like, why haven't you hit Provi yet? And I'm like, there's stuff going on. It's in the works, but I can't tell you. That's normal. But if you say there is a thing, if you acknowledge that you are not telling a person thing and say, look, I can't tell you this, but I admit that I'm not telling you, you're right to feel in the dark because I put you there. Trust me, that's better than just acting like they're not being put in the dark.
Yeah, it's like, and from a cheat perspective, you see this in a lot of titles. I only know because it's my background. So there are a lot of titles you could be working on where cheats are happening. To sit in a room with people, first off, to invite people in a room and say, talk to me about cheating, and then for you to sit down to me and be like, well, cheating's happening this much, this much, this much, and this much, and for me to act like that's not happening, for me to fucking be like, whoa, that's just bullshit, and everyone sees through it. If you're gonna sit down and have an honest conversation with people, you need to sit down and you need to acknowledge the facts on the ground and say, hey, look, I know cheats are happening. Here's what we're doing to make your life easier. And as long as you do that, everyone's fucking cool. Nobody's going to give you a hard time. If you can't back and forth, and if you can't at least acknowledge that you may have done something wrong, or that what's there isn't the most optimal, but you're getting better at it, and maybe share and discuss, then don't fucking bother. You're just wasting everyone's time.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what we're seeing here with the discussion of PCUs, because the player base is worried because we all love EVE Online, or we wouldn't be here. We would have invested so much as we have into this game. And when you see like no real communication from the top, and you also see a tendency, because I saw this in a couple of like Reddit posts by random people with CCP flair, of like, oh, well, it's just the summer, that's because PCUs are down. If you actually analyze the data, the summer excuse is just that. This is what we have seen with the Age of Sov, Fozzie Sov has been dramatic. It is a statistically irrefutable problem. The math is there, and all the words in the world won't change that. And our players are not idiots, right? People who play EVE Online, it's the hardest game in the world. It's the most competitive game in the world. It attracts people who are like in their mid-30s and up, professionals, top in their field, brilliant people. You can't look at our player base in the eye and say, yeah, well, you know, the PCUs are down, but it's just summer, because they've already run like stochastic analysis and have 5 more spreadsheets than you do to tell you that this is a unique problem that requires leadership. And then there's that whole. The reason why Sean is right about the issues getting conflated in the discussion of the roundtable and the leadership discussion is that, and this is part of the issue, there are a number of problems, and it is easy to shove them together and conflate them. Okay, I think it's time to move on to the fixie bit. Yeah. So this will be the... So
I love the cracking of the fingers.
I gotta get out of. So you can only pour so much negativity on things before you actually offer a solution. And conveniently, our brain trust.
Is that a black undershirt, by the way? I don't think
I've
ever
black
seen.
Undershirt. I usually have.
He always wears a black undershirt with his red shirts.
I never noticed.
I came on without an undershirt. It could just be kind of like, you know, hey, but I think it would be.
I've also never slept in a coffin, so
Okay. You get used to it after a while. They're actually quite comfortable. It's like getting hugged while you're asleep.
And like Mittens just said, if you're going to give nothing but criticism but not offer any type of solution or possible fix, then you're just an asshole. So.
Okay. So this is basically the way in which this goes. We don't really need to have that many fixes to take a system that is really not that bad and turn it into a system that's great. A lot of people are trying to throw the baby out with the bathwater when it comes to Fozzie Sov. The reality is that the Fozzie Sov initial draft that was presented, once run through a bunch of tweaks, by the time it was implemented, is surprisingly not all that bad. There are a few killer, devastating issues that are easy to fix that will turn this into a system that I think most of the player base can be happy with. It's not a thing where we need to roll back to Dominion. Dominion had problems. It's not a thing where we need to roll back to modified POS-SOV, though that could be entertaining. I've always been a fan of the POS on planets instead of moons version of the old SOV system, but whatever. Let's get away from that. I can give you basically 3 or 4 quick fixes that will solve a ton of the issues we have. All right, so number 1. This is something that I think an AFCON guy came up with, and an indie wrote an amazing blog post about this, is you have a reason to live in SOV when your capital of your alliance in that system, when you jump into it, it clears your jump fatigue. That is a massive, useful thing. It keeps you from projecting power across the galaxy, but it gives you a bonus for local defense. It allows in-game players who are in capitals and super capitals and titans to be able to use these in-game ships without unsubbing, which is what has happened en masse across the game. So it's a great reason to have a capital, and it is pretty balanced. It's just very defensive. You have the capital, and right there, it clears your fatigue when you jump into it. Great idea. AFCON guy and whoever else came up with it, that should be implemented as soon as possible. Have it as an iHub upgrade or just an inherent bonus to the capital. Next thing, nobody likes sitting there hacking nodes. in Fozzie Sov. It's boring. You can't speed it up. The biggest issue is not, Sov warfare is never supposed to be inherently amazingly fun. It's war. You have to do work to get benefits in war. So fix number 2, cut the number of nodes that are spawned in a contest, in a challenge, or whatever they call it internally, by half. Just cut it in half. We do not need 20 nodes or whatever to have one of these things happen. And the second part of that, there's 2 levels to this. 1, get the nodes cut in half. That's an integer value. Congratulations. It took you 15 minutes to implement that. The next thing is to have an automatic node decay. So here's the problem. Region after region in EVE is cluttered with command nodes that have decloaked, and nobody can be asked to hack them because it's not fun. People will come on and create a challenge, and then nodes will spawn, the attacker never bothers showing up, and then the defender has to counter-hack 20 nodes or whatever stupid number it is to get them to go away. These things need to decay naturally. If you hack a system and then you don't turn up to try to press the attack, the defender shouldn't have to unhack 20 nodes. They should just decay over, like, at the end of the vulnerability window. That's simple enough. At the end of the vulnerability window, if they haven't been hacked, they vanish. Done. That's fix number 2. Fix number 3. This has to do with troll scepters. It's not even troll scepters anymore. It has to do with all of the overpropped cruiser holes, everything that is basically running around with a ship that is designed to not risk anything. The fundamental basis of any kind of Sov contest is risk versus reward. You put something at risk for the reward of a shot at taking Sov. In the current system with the troll scepter thing, the overpropped Maulers, overpropped Cinnaballs, overpropped T3s, overpropped Lakisai, is that right now anybody can risk nothing to get a hack, because if there's somebody actually shows up, what they can do is just burn off and cloak with their overpropped fast ship. So they're not risking anything to get a reward.
That's actually what I do when I'm hacking.
I think
run away when the cops show up.
What about when they hack your Gibson? That's really kind of the important question, I think.
My Gibson's never been touched.
That's why he's a professional, ladies and
much like
gentlemen.
most of our viewers.
So, Uranus in chat actually says, which I actually kind of like this idea. I like tennis rules for nodes. First to 5, win by 2. I actually like that.
I've seen the tennis rule thing before, and if they can implement the tennis rules for it, I'd be delighted with that. The reason why I just say cut them in half is because I'm not sure how much additional coding effort it would take to implement tennis rules. I'm looking for quick, easy fixes to cut the pain. So if they could do the tennis rules thing, great. If not, just cut them in half as a start. So the troll scepter thing, this is fix number 3.
And I was also just asked by Mr. V to ask you if that is his HEMA shirt, HEMA shirt.
I do, in fact, have 3 of the HEMA shirts. You're right. That's from the time a few years ago. It's a shirt I got when I was in Holland, and I lost my luggage on a train to Utrecht. Right out of piled up. Yeah, it was when you passed out in that hotel in Paris.
Oh yeah. We don't talk.
We got the bullet trip from Amsterdam to Paris, and then Sean passed out in a hotel and missed the entire Paris bender, which is a shame. But back on point. So fix number 1, capital of your Sov, of your alliance in Sov should remove fatigue. Fix number 2, nodes cut in half, either implement tennis rules or just cut them in half and have automatic decay when people don't turn up once they get outside the vulnerability window. And the final fix to troll scepters and the overpropped ships and things is there's 2 possible fixes. One is have them work like a siege module. Right? You press the button to hack and your ship is stuck and you're not going anywhere for the 5 minutes or however long it takes you to run that cycle. That means that you are risking your ship to hack a thing. And when people turn up, they at least get a kill mail. Part of the reason why people are unhappy with the system is that in the Dominion Sov system, it might have been a pain in the ass, but EVE is a game in combat about kill mails. You got a kill mail for an SBU. You got a kill mail for an iHub. You got kill mails for all of the fights surrounding them. Yes, and apparently NCDOT rules, according to some random guy. And he's there partying in San Diego rather than actually defending his Sov, which is why they lost all their shit in Delph.
He was the one that could have saved them.
He could have saved them, but he was
all his fault.
You. This is all a meta operation. Sean is out there drinking with this guy, so NCDOT is their Sov in Delph.
Yet another victory.
Well,
yeah.
Well, I don't know if you watched the episode last week, Alex, or the Mittani, sorry, V mentioned that there's just not the animosity that there once was in the game, and so when there's no animosity in the game for people to say, "I'm going to go invade you because I fucking hate you," we need a reason to leave our Sov and leave it vulnerable to getting hacked, and then having to defend all those nodes to actually go take different space. I mean, why do we leave Declan?
We can fix that. I mean, I don't buy that. I mean, people have said that like the hate of the Great War was the last major like hate-oriented war, and we've had a million wars in Dominion after the Great War. Like
we spun up a couple good hate fuckings, like Reddit, the fucking even when we went after PGL, there was still bad blood there.
There's at least a degree of bad blood, but I mean, you can fight over
even if it was just me. If it was just me, that's fine. Like, I don't really dislike people. I just find a way to focus and hate, and then afterwards I'm just like, but like that was the thing. It's a good hate fucking makes everyone happy.
You basically need to have if you have high value single points of conflict like valuable moons or things, animosity will grow because people will be in conflict over those limited resources, right? So even in a situation like I would like to go to Providence today, but due to the limits of the system, I don't hate Providence. I think it would just be fun content for our guys. We've had a number of fun content deployments that haven't involved a hate war. The issue is that the game mechanics are really limiting that. So let me get on the troll scepter thing and just get it out of the way here. There are two major ways that are easy that you can have this fixed. When somebody is trying to hack a node, they need to either risk the one ship that they have, or at the very least have a reason for a fight, i.e. have a support gang with the guy in siege mode there. So you can have siege mode, they're not moving anywhere, they're stuck there for the full cycle time of the hack and are vulnerable. So the defenders at least get a kill mail. The other solution, and I think I prefer siege mode, but this is just throwing this out here, the other solution is to limit it to the hull class. Right now, the problem with cruiser hulls is that you can overprop them. If the Intosis module was limited to battle cruisers or above, then again, the ship could still maneuver, it wouldn't be stuck in siege, but you wouldn't have this ridiculous catch me if you can kiting gameplay that satisfies no one. The reason why I say it satisfies no one is now you've seen even the people who used to be doing that a lot aren't. The amazing like troll scepter wave hasn't happened. You just have this angry player base. People are getting frustrated. They get into what they see is going to be a fight. The fight gets taken away from them. They don't even get a kill mail. So that's the three big fixes. I would also throw in there, as an aside, make it such that if you have an iHub that is vulnerable, don't have the iHub blown up automatically in Fozzie Sov. Make it that people have to blow it up themselves, and then they can get a kill mail. Right now, iHubs just go pop. And half the fun when you were at a Sov War, if you were blowing up an SBU or an iHub, the siege fleets in the Fountain War did this all the time. It might not have been amazing if a defender didn't show up, but you at least got a kill mail for your trouble, and there's none of that. So, this is that easy fixes. Kill mails, make sure that your capital removes jump fatigue, make sure that the node spawn is cut in half with either tennis rules and the nodes decay, and then deal with the troll scepters such that if somebody risks a ship to hack, they at least risk that ship being blown up when the defenders turn. That's it.
Let me ask you a question. Do you suppose the new station thing fits into any of these?
The Citadels? Well, the Citadels, there's going to be, the only way to siege a Citadel is going to be with the Intosis link.
Well, my thought was when you're talking about refreshing jump fatigue and the idea that caps and super caps can dock up.
I mean, right now we don't know anything about it. The assumed purpose of the jump fatigue roundtable was to help them whenever they're looking into rebalancing capitals, which they believe Larrikin and Rise are working on. But right now we don't have any preliminary ideas.
Two very highly regarded capital pilots.
Oh god! Now, to be fair to Larrikin, he was one of the main FCs during Australian time zone. So Larrikin actually does have a fair amount of experience with caps. I mean,
I don't know him as much as Rise. Yeah, who is known as a solo guy.
Yeah, and Fozzie is more of a small gang alliance tournament dude. So the part of the reason why we have this PCU drop and it's combined with the Sov system is like all the players who are in-game pilots that got into caps, and it's like, well, why should I even have my caps and supers subbed? I can resub them if a fight kicks off, but it's just a mess. There's been no real communication saying there's hope on the way. There's been no communication saying we're contemplating these fixes. We acknowledge that there's a problem. And this could all be wrapped up pretty quickly, guys. This is not a thing where like we need to have months of development iteration. Speaking of wrapping things up quickly, though, we are getting towards the end of our time slot, so we need to go ahead and start making it rain for the line. And also, guys, if
I've
you have
actually already started the giveaway about 5 minutes ago, so everyone already typed in chat in the last 5 minutes. You're already into it. So guys, we're giving away two Pirate Rookie Dude, I'm on top of this shit today. Besides the whole lagging sound issue, I mean.
By the way, give me some shit to give away here.
What? You're gonna give away like your shirt or something?
Yeah, check out these boobies, everyone. No, give me something to give away to the people who showed up here. Well, I'll take it offline. But
yeah, we can. Let's talk to Sabrina about that on Slack.
We'll get it.
Yes.
I have the CEO right here.
Well, you deal with that after, guys.
Type
in
Alex,
chat.
I thought you were in charge. I thought you were here telling everyone about leadership. We're having a
we all know his wife is actually in charge.
And he's like, "Oh no, talk to my community people." Sorry, Hilmar.
You should give the people there the gift of your humor and your presence.
So, guys,
right, let's give some shit away.
I'm doing the first roll here. Pirate Rookie Ship code. If you win, message the channel. Make sure you're following the channel. And the first roll is going to be Phantom 1 of 9, one of our subs as well. Congratulations, buddy. Thanks for the support. And we're going to go ahead and do the next roll. Zizkov, XYZKOV. You have won the second Pirate Rookie Ship giveaway. Make sure both of you guys message the channel saying, hey, I won this X thing on TMC. And I will send you the code which you'll redeem in Evil Line.
We'll go into, also, really quick, if you have questions before we go into sub-only mode, we've got about 5 minutes left, which is actually enough time for me to run my mouth. I've drunk a lot of coffee. Any further questions or comments about the situation, the proposed fixes, Fozzie Sov in general, or CCP, type it in there, because we're going to be getting into sub-only mode to do a Art of New Eden giveaway book, which CCP has been very kind to give us to give away.
Is sub-only mode where they do whatever I want?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly.
Oh my. Okay, so we're in sub-only mode.
Yes.
So go ahead and type in there if you're a subscriber.
Yes, you are a dirty girl. Yes, you will lick my boot.
Is it 50 Shades of Red? Is that where we're going with this?
I like it.
Oh god. Okay. So let's see if I can see any questions while we're scrolling back here.
What about that one question the guy was asking about POS mechanics, or reverting back to POS Sov?
I'll go ahead and answer that while people are typing in chat. The thing about, POS mechanics were interesting because you had much more of an espionage metagame. The problem was the lack of clarity, and it really burdened logisticians. So like your logi guys ended up having to be like war logi guys and sort of a different temperament. They could do it, but a lot of them burned out. So it really seemed like the people who were suffering the most in terms of awkward, boring gameplay fueling towers were then also saddled with being dealing with military commanders and jerks like me, yelling at them to drop this many POS within this many hours, and they had to fight with a green box. So people who harken back to the good old days of POS Sov have never had to drop 30 towers or even 5 towers on a war operation over the course of like 3 or 4 hours, fighting with the green box, the interface. It's nightmarish, and it's really easy to have nostalgia and look back. I genuinely believe that Fozzie Sov is fixable with just a few things, and as long as we get kill mails back in there, we get some sort of solution to jump fatigue, we get the nodes cut in half, tennis rules, and have decay, and deal with the troll scepters and all the other overprop ships, that it will be a superior system to both Dominion and to POS Sov. It just needs communication, it needs iteration, people have to tell the player base what's going on, and that there's hope for cap pilots, and a reason to hold Sov. So there is no reason why this can't be solved by next month.
Can I jump in and iterate for a second? Because I spoke about leadership earlier, and I kind of threw Hilmar under a bus, and I didn't mean to. Hilmar does not. So as a CEO of a company that makes multiple titles, Hilmar does not personally need to get out in front and talk about Fozzie Sov. But the person who owns the title does, and that's the issue here. Nobody needs to see Hilmar in front of everything, but who the fuck owns EVE, and why the fuck aren't they talking? That's the issue.
Right, that is actually a really good point, because, I mean, especially when you're promoting a new product as a CEO, and Hilmar is doing that, and he needs to do that for the new titles. There's really no excuse for anyone to not be in front of EVE itself, though, if they are in charge of that division, and they own that.
if I'm the EP or the lead designer or whatever at EVE, then I got to get up and I got to get in front of it. And if I can't do that, then maybe we should find an EP or a lead designer who knows how to do that.
All right, guys. So I'm going to do this giveaway right now. For our subs, guys, thank you so much. Joel Snug, Nina Blaze has won Art of New Eden book. Nina, go ahead and message the channel with your personal devices. Exactly right.
Rigged. That's excellent.
Oh, rip Nina. So I'm going to turn subscribers mode off. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in the show. Big thanks to CCP for the items that we've given away today. Thanks for the support there. And then also to Blue Yeti microphones. I'm using a Blue Yeti. The
Me too,
using a Blue Yeti. Darius Johnson's using a Blue Yeti. He's a big black Blue Yeti.
Oh, baby. Thank you very much to Blue Microphones. This is awesome. And also to Razer again for my very sexy headphones that I'm rocking as usual. And we're going to go ahead and head on to our next bit. Yeah, exactly. We got all the swag. We like to make it rain for the boys. We love CCP. We are delighted that they've given us these things to give back to our community. We only complain because we love and because we're obsessed with this game and we want to make it better. So please do that.
So that, guys, thank you so much, Darius, for coming on and talking to us in San Diego at the pub there. And The Mittani, thanks for joining us again this week. I'm glad you could fit us into your schedule. But
thank you for showing up for your show.
Yeah, exactly.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So with that, guys,
Happy to have
a good Saturday. And coming up immediately after this is the Undead Zone H1Z1. We'll see you there.
And then the boat show. Let's not forget that.
Boat show.
Yeah, let's just watch the Undead Zone.